It is always evenings. In the Khanna household, a good debate always takes place in the evenings. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I really do fancy a good debate. But when the worthy opponents in question are your parents, the situation tends to change a lot. And for the longest time, I wondered what exactly it was that made the situation so different. And after spending so many sleepless nights doing research, I finally concluded that it had something to do with science. Now, please don't leave the auditorium just yet. So you see, the debate usually begins as a one-on-one debate with my father. Now, at this point, there is a force acting perpendicular to my skull. We shall call this force the urge to cry while debating with your parents. But that's not all, because according to Newton's third law, to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So while there was an external force that absolutely made me want to burn my eyes out, there was an internal equal and opposite resistive force that was nullifying the urge to cry. We shall call this force, don't you dare cry. Now, usually in a one-on-one debate, because of these two forces, I want to cry force is 0, and the body's equilibrium state is maintained. But then, something happens, just like it always does. Another entity walks into the debate. Another smart, powerful, beautiful, and very, very short entity. That's right, it's my mom. Now, at this point, everything goes downhill. The external force on my skull doubles because now it's a 2 versus 1 debate. The internal resistive force cannot handle this. The external force crushes me, and there you go. I am a crying mess. I'm very visibly crying. I'm sobbing, as a matter of fact. And just like every single debate that happens at my place, I end up losing this debate once again. Now, after what seemed like an eternity of losses, I finally began to wonder, what exactly is it that enables people to believe in things with such immense passion? And was it this that was giving my parents the upper edge in every single debate? Or was I just a really, really bad debater? Now, fortunately, I didn't have to think a lot about this answer because I think my parents felt me and ended up answering this question themselves. You see, the answer primarily had to do with experience and experiential learning. Beliefs are shaped by our experiences, and that proves to be more essential when compared to stone-cold facts found on the internet. Now, on hearing that statement, I thought to myself, well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Maybe our beliefs are shaped and inspired and influenced by our experiences. But being the overthinker I am, the more I thought about these statements, the more convoluted my thoughts became. And I started to think of some arguments that came up with this statement. The first of them being, why is it that people assume that the intensity and accuracy of your beliefs are directly proportional to your age? And why does this form this mentality in adults that what they believe in is far more superior in comparison to the opinions of children and teenagers just because they spent more time on Earth? I have had so many relatives walk up to me and tell me that I should pay heed to what they say just because they're older than me. And more ironically, isn't it just another strong belief that as adults, you are always correct just because you've been around the sun more times than we have? Secondly, how much belief is good belief? Why do we believe in things with such immense fervor and passion that we are ready to condemn anything and everything that goes against it? When does belief turn into ignorance, and how is it currently affecting society? And thirdly, if experience does play such a huge role in defining our behavior and characteristics, what about the things that we can't experience or haven't experienced? For example, you don't have to cheat and steal and experience the consequences of doing so just to know that it is bad and immoral, right? Another example. We can't see a guiding light come down and tell us that we will very definitely face some harsh consequences if we don't listen to them. But most of us still believe in this guiding light, right? So these beliefs surrounding this guiding light constitute a major part of how we function on a daily basis. And if that might not be determined by experience, what does it say about its importance? Now, being the ambitious student that I am, and I'm pretty sure a lot of teachers here would agree, I set out to find answers to these arguments and questions. But I realized I was far from doing so because I hadn't even thought about what gaining experience actually looked like. For the longest time, in my mind, the image of gaining experience looked something like this. A period where you're forced to leave your home, you break open from your cocoon, and you embark on a journey to go into the real world and solve some real-world challenges. But this understanding was very obviously wrong. I was looking at experience from a very individual and superficial perspective, where I was assuming that the things only you alone experience in life are the things that ultimately determine your beliefs. But in reality, that's not the case. We acquire knowledge not only on the basis of our personal experiences, but instead we perceive knowledge based on the experiences of everyone around us. Our parents, grandparents, children, siblings, YouTubers, stand-up comedians, influencers, people running an online blog, journalists, and so many other people. And with this, I was reminded of a line from Yuval Noah Harari's book, Sapiens. Fiction has enabled us not merely to imagine things, but to do so collectively. So people who share a common set of beliefs then also start believing in a common set of actions. And then they start bonding over these shared beliefs and actions. And this is what forms this group mentality at a social, political, and religious level. So with this conclusion, I went back to the arguments that I brought up just a few minutes ago. And as I connected the dots and tried to think of answers, I realized that I was very intimidated and very scared with what I was finding. You see, if the environment we live in is filled with people who will go to great lengths to advocate for what they believe in, and if their beliefs coincide with what we learn from our experiences and other people's experiences, there is a very, very high probability that we will start believing in the same things with equal or maybe even greater passion. And this is happening to people from all over the world, irrespective of their age and background. It is only often through exposure to different beliefs that we can even think about changing our own beliefs. But if we lack exposure from the very, very, very beginning, we are falsely led to believe that what we think is always undoubtedly correct, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong, is naive, is inexperienced, and is a clown. So with this, I was reminded of one anecdote from a few years ago. I was talking to a relative who at the time was about 10 or 11 years old, and we happened to cross a very controversial topic. Now, don't ask me why I was discussing a controversial topic with a 10-year-old. That's just how it was. But nonetheless, when I told that relative my opinions about that topic, they stopped, looked at me, and said, "What? Are you foolish? Are you out of your mind? How can you say such a..." I wasn't quite offended by the fact that a 10-year-old had called me foolish. Actually, I was a bit. But more than that, I was highly intrigued by the response time. It was like a reflex action. They didn't stop for a moment to think about my opinions, to understand my opinions, to even comprehend my opinions. They just outrightly and immediately rejected it. But what makes this case even more interesting is the fact that a few days later, when I was discussing the same controversial topic with a person twice my age, I got a very, very similar response. Speak about age and intensity and accuracy of beliefs, huh? So with this, I realized that people do not like their decisions or opinions questioned by another person having another opinion. And with this dark awakening came. because I realized that the moment your beliefs are clouded by this shielded perception where you think you are always right, ignorance takes over. And this is leading to a whole new variety of problems that have also been fueled by the advent of social media. The personal altering of online experiences using algorithms is a particularly worrisome topic because each and every user's data and activity is being closely tracked to produce results that suit our interests. Why? So that we end up spending more time on the social media site or application. But what makes this case even more concerning is the fact that most people aren't even aware of this content tailoring that is taking place. So social media, therefore, unknowingly leads to the creation of what we call an epistemic bubble, which by definition is basically an informational network where relevant voices have been excluded by omission. I'll tell you what's happening. So you're not ignoring other significant beliefs out there just because you're consciously aware of the fact that they make you uncomfortable. You're not even being introduced to other significant beliefs out there because of this bulletproof informational dome that is being formed around you. Now, social media is also, therefore, leading to the creation of what we call an echo chamber. An echo chamber is basically a situation where even on being introduced to another belief, your mind will immediately undermine it because it does not reconcile with your beliefs. Think about how potentially dangerous it is. Think about how it's affecting the way we think, the way we react, the way we respond to things. Now with this, let's take an example to understand this whole situation a lot more better. Let's say there are two people, Groot and Rocket Raccoon from the MCU. Now Groot very passionately supports the Thanos Jeet party, and Rocket very passionately supports the Tony Seva party. Good names, right? Now the two of them are victims of this vicious social media algorithm, and now the two of them have been falsely led to believe that a majority of people around them have the very same beliefs. And obviously, the two of them think that they are always right. Now on a very fine and warm summer evening, the two of them are introduced to each other's beliefs. So Groot sees Rocket criticizing the Tony Seva party, and he gets really mad. And therefore he says, like he always does, I'm Groot. Of course he does. But what he's trying to say is that Rocket is a clown who doesn't read the right news and should get his brain checked. And then Groot proceeds to criticize the Tony Seva party. Now Rocket sees what's happening, and he gets really agitated, and he gets really mad. And then in response to this, Rocket says, Groot is a clown who doesn't read the right news and should get his brain checked. And now the two of them just end up fighting over who is right and who is wrong. Now think about the situation, not only with two people and one on either side. Think about this problem with thousands, 10,000s, millions of people on either side. Yes, it does sound like a very dangerous situation, but at the same time, it is also a bit amusing and a tad bit farcical. I'll tell you why. I have seen people post screenshot on top of screenshot on top of screenshot on their Instagram stories, trying to criticize other people for having different beliefs. And all I can ask is, at the end of the day, who is the real winner here? What do we end up achieving except for mutual hatred and animosity for one another? Conundrum of trying to prove ourselves right and others wrong. We fail to believe and we fail to understand that there are people out there who are taking advantage of our beliefs and are using their words and their actions to get us to believe in them with even greater passion. Political parties are using the already strongly set beliefs of their followers to spread their agenda and get a greater number of people to advocate for them. The media these days is using our beliefs to spread propaganda and get us to believe in that propaganda and heighten our advocacy. MNCs these days, multinational corporations these days, are playing with our beliefs and toying with our sentiments to get us to buy their products, and there are countless examples out there to support this claim. Our beliefs are getting us trapped, and we're not even realizing this. So at the end of the day, it's not who we think who is wrong who's actually the clown. In my opinion, we're all clowns, part of this big, nice clown family. So what exactly can we do to stop this from happening in the near future? Well, we humans are logical beings. The reason we believe is because we can perceive everything that happens around us. And that is exactly why you don't see a chimpanzee get down to the ground on his knees, put his hands together, look up to the sky, and say, "Oh, mighty one, please help me get this banana." So maybe this whole problem can be solved by changing the way in which we perceive things around us. Get rid of the whole "I am right, you are wrong" mentality and understand that it's possible to learn even from small children and teenagers because your interaction with them also counts as experience. Don't blindly trust everything you read on the internet. Read a lot more on your own and open your mind and broaden your horizons to the endless beliefs out there. Just like a line from Bohemian Rhapsody, open your eyes, look up to the sky, and see. Remember, it's easy to judge someone when you don't understand them. So listen to what other people have to say and just think. Use the very tool that got us so far. Look, I know and I understand that it's easier said than done. But remember, and I say this from experience, even the smallest efforts don't go in vain. So to everyone watching this right now, I have just one request. Don't be the clown you shouldn't be. Thank you.